What's going on, guys? We are back. Sports Moods. I am C. Moody here with
D. Moody.
We're here to recap NFL Week 3, get into some college football, recap WWE this past week, talk about in other sports, especially with the NBA, and then we'll go back and give our predictions for Week 4. Two Moodies.
One duty.
Sports. What's going on, guys? We are here, Sports Moods. Once again, I am C. Moody, here as always.
D. Moody.
And we're going to kick this off by getting into recapping NFL Week 3. Now, before we even go into the stats and whatever, I just felt like this past weekend was a pretty good weekend for NFL this past week. Just going by sports in general. I'm not going to get into the political side of what's going on. That's something that we plan on doing in its own segment. But how'd you feel about this week overall?
I think now we're getting more into seeing teams trying to figure out what kind of identity they want to have on the season.
Yeah.
Because we saw some not crazy things. It's still early in the year, so no team has really truly defined who they want to be this year and what type of football they're going to be.
I don't know. I feel like I've seen two.
It could be, but it's still early.
Oh, definitely early.
But we saw a number of 2-0 teams get beat by 0-2 teams.
Yeah.
So we saw some crazy turn of events. You know, we saw some lopsided victories by some surprising opponents. We saw some shootouts in some surprising games. We've seen some blowouts in some surprising games. So it was just kind of a good balance of up and down all through this past week in the NFL.
Definitely. The first game we're going to get into is Thursday Night Footballs. My LA Rams against the San Francisco 49ers. Both of us predicted this game correctly. The Rams will pull it out, considering that 49ers are still look like they're in shambles and them being a winless team. And to me, even though we took this win, it was a disappointing win just to see the effort coming back at the end by the 49ers and the lack of effort, it seems, for my Rams at the end of it. But a win's a win. The Rams are now 2-1. The 49ers continue to have a winless season so far at 0-3. Jared Goff had a decent night. Well, had a really good night, actually. 22 for 28, 292 yards with 3 touchdowns. And Ty Gurley had a pretty good game, 28 carries, 113 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Anything you want to say?
Yeah, I think I think the Rams are actually, I can't believe I'm actually saying this, they're actually looking pretty good to start the season.
That puts me in a good mood right there.
I didn't call him a special.
That's all right. That's all right.
But I got to give it to him. It looks like this new coach under this new era with this team, it seems like things are looking like they're coming together. They have a young head coach getting past the whole Jeff Fisher thing. And I think Sammy Watkins is fitting really well into what they do. Ty Gurley is having a bounce back year. You guys got some really good things going offensively.
Yeah.
Robert Woods looks good at the receiver for you too. It's still some defensive issues there that you got to kind of work through, but I still don't want you to be too hard on them. It was still a good win.
Yeah.
It's a primetime game on a short week, and to come out and play the way that they did, it was a back and forth game. It is a divisional opponent, so you play the 49ers twice a year,
right.
So you expect a tight game, against a divisional opponent most of the time. But I think, I don't know how long this is going to continue, because at the end of the day, it is the Rams. So, I just will say that I'm pretty impressed thus far with what I've seen.
I appreciate it. And I did write down Brian Hoyer's stats. He had a really good game still. 23 for 37, 332 yards with 2 touchdowns, except that one interception he had. Mm-hmm. So he still had a good performance himself, and like I said, it was a good game down the end. I guess I need to still appreciate this win. I guess the fact that I was able to watch the end result as the defense started to unravel, and it had me on edge. That's why I'm like, I got you. The Rams has to do better.
And you're probably a little bit more biased because it's your team. And I think you got, I don't know if you have this stat written down, but they said it's the most points you guys ever scored since the Greatest Show on Turf.
I saw that and I didn't write it down, but yeah.
I was surprised. I was like, really? Well, don't tell me we're getting back to the Marshall Faulk,
I told you, NFC,
Bruce, Torrey Hope
NFC Championship. And guess what? And you know what's gonna show it? We play the Cowboys next week.
Oh, that's going. That is going to be pretty. I'm really anxious to see how that's going to.
Me too.
I am, but I mean, it was pretty impressive win, to say the least.
Definitely. The second game I'm gonna go into is the Chiefs over the Chargers. Now you did go for the Chargers, and the Chiefs remains undefeated so far.
I just thought the Chargers would find a way to get past. They've had a rough first 2 weeks.
Yeah, definitely.
These narrow losses and close down to the end field goal, losses. And I just thought Phillip Rivers would find a way to, turn that into something positive and actually find a way to drive his team to a win. But just they're in some trouble right now. 0-3. That's a tight hole to try to climb out of.
Definitely, considering that so long for so many years, they've been at least a good regular season team. To see this right now, even though it is early, they could pull out an amazing stretch in the long run, but just to see it right now is disappointing for Phillip Rivers.
Really, because you don't know where the season can go. You don't know who's going to get hurt. You don't know what kind of other roadblocks you're going to run into.
Exactly.
So if you try to make a run late, it makes every game you're going to start hearing pretty soon it's a must-win for the Chargers. It's a must-win for whatever other teams are kind of behind the 8 ball at this point. Because at a certain point, your season is in jeopardy.
Yeah, definitely. For the Chiefs, Alex Smith had a pretty good game, 16 for 21, 155 yards with 2 touchdowns. The rookie Kareem Hunt is still showing just how phenomenal he is so far. 17 carries for 172 yards with a great outburst 69-yard touchdown, which was the only touchdown he had, to just have an all-around great game for the Chiefs. Phillip Rivers in a losing effort. I don't want to say it's showing his age, but he went 20 for 40, 237 yards with 3 interceptions. It's a pretty bad stat to have.
50% completion percentage and the 3 turnovers. You're not going to beat many teams
definitely
with 3 turnovers.
So it was good offense for the Chiefs and better defense.
Yeah, the Chiefs are, like I said, as I said last week in my power rankings, I felt like, they're still, the team to beat out there. I think they're still the number one, team that's out there.
Definitely.
They have really had some impressive wins, especially the New England win and the Philadelphia win last week. I mean, the Chargers were kind of, they're probably the best, team that's like on that side that's not that good. They're still, even though they're 0-2, they're better than what their record says they are.
Definitely.
So you can't take that at face value a lot of times, but still go on the road and win that game is a big win for Kansas City. Off to a good start, 3-0.
Definitely. What game you got next?
I got one that really shocked me.
Okay.
Jacksonville versus Baltimore in London.
Oh my gosh.
So Jacksonville pretty much brought out the whipping sticks.
Yeah,
did they? The Baltimore Ravens, and they whipped them all.
It was really bad.
Long.
They
didn't stop.
You would have thought that their home team was in London. That was their home stadium.
Yeah. I mean, 44-7.
Yeah.
The Ravens just never got anything started.
No.
And I told you, with the Ravens, I just felt like I just don't trust Joe Flacco. I don't. I mean,
yeah, he had a horrible night, and then they end up putting in the backup.
Yeah,
it was that bad for him. It was.
Yeah, it was not a good game for the Ravens. You know, they should have not allowed them to go back to play in London after that show. And we going to another country to show how competitive this sport is, to try to get a overseas clientele to watch the NFL, and then we put on a showing like that. Yeah. It's just,
I mean, it helps the tourism of Florida, though.
It does.
Definitely.
But it was just,
it was bad.
Jacksonville, I mean, and also I don't know if you have this down for them, but you know they have the best the point differential right now in the NFL.
I bet they should. I didn't have it down, but definitely.
Yep. 38 is their point differential over how many points they've allowed. Wow. Blake Bortles look pretty good, and Baltimore is no slouch defensive team.
Exactly.
So the numbers that Bortles put up and the things they were able to do against the Ravens, and then equally their defense holding to just the 7 points.
Right.
I mean, it
was definitely a great game for Blake Bortles. 20 for 31, 244 yards with 4 touchdowns. Mercedes Lewis had 4 receptions, 62 yards for 3 touchdowns. Not to mention a 30-yard touchdown that I guess just added on to the whipping.
Yeah, it just was a...
And I caught this highlight as I was trying to, write all this stuff down. A.J. Boye. Mm-hmm. And he was defending, and he deflected it out of the man's hand and still was able to catch the interception right before it went to the ground. I just thought that was a great play, and I had to mention that. Also, that they didn't have on the initial stats that I didn't even get to see at first was Corey Grant, the running back, had a 58-yard rush off of a fake punt.
Wow. And a fake punt, that's a tough play to try to...
Exactly.
Catch the team. You really got a lot of stuff has to go right.
Right.
You have to be able to kind of deceive that other team and really execute it almost to perfection to pull it off. So to do that on a fake punt, I've never really seen that much success on a fake punt.
Me neither.
So that was big too.
Definitely.
My next game that I have is Pittsburgh versus Chicago. This is one of those things I talked about, the 2-0 versus the 0-2 type situation. Chicago really stunned me. They really hung with Pittsburgh. We had some bizarre stuff go down in this game, especially right before halftime. Pittsburgh's getting ready to kick a field goal right at halftime, and then Chicago blocks the field goal. The dude scoops it up, is running it back as if he's going to score a touchdown. He gets right at the 1 yard line and begins to showboat. And somebody from the Steelers come behind him, knock the ball out of his hand. It's rolling around the end zone. And then the Steelers kicker dives and just knocks the ball out the back of the end zone. So it was really controversial because Chicago's coach, John Fox, is he's saying that that's a safety because the Steelers player knocked it out of the end zone. But then it took a while. They said, well, the time ran out. It was the end of the half. So then the Steelers go into the locker room thinking it's halftime, but then the referees are still on the field. Chicago never goes to the back into their locker room because their coach is arguing, what's the call here?
Right.
We got to make sure we get this right. So then what they ended up turning it to was a 1st and goal at the 1 for Chicago.
Really?
And then the Steelers players had to come back out of the locker room, run back onto the field to line up for a 1st and goal at the 1 with 8 seconds to go. Chicago still didn't get the ball in the end zone, so they had to end up kicking a field goal right before halftime.
Wow.
But this game, I thought that was crazy. This game
definitely.
Ended up going to overtime. Chicago wins it in overtime. Antonio Brown had a good showing for Pittsburgh. And, Tariq Cohen, he was huge in this game for Chicago, too. So, what's your take on that game?
I didn't get to see much. I wish I would have seen that whole spiel.
Yeah, it was weird because I was thinking, too, I was like, well, is it a safety? Because, okay, first off, you should have never been in that position.
Right.
If you're a football player, act like you've been there before. Run the ball in the end zone, then you celebrate.
Yeah, I don't understand how they do that.
How many times have we seen people, not even when people run them down and knock the ball out of their hand?
Yeah.
We've seen Deshaun Jackson a few years ago.
Exactly.
Before he crosses the goal line.
A couple of times.
He throws the ball behind him as if, you have to keep in mind, I know you're excited. Okay, I'm running toward the end zone. What you should do is always look up at that scoreboard to see who's behind you on the jumbotron to see if somebody's
Right.
close on you. Score the touchdown first, then celebrate.
Yeah.
But he literally